So I've known Paul for about 2 years. He was a friend way before we had any business dealings together. And Paul's quite interesting because he's had some really interesting business experience. He'd done quite a lot in corporate financial sales. Then he had a nightclub for a while down in Kingston where all the footballers would go, and drink £3,000 bottles of champagne. That was a few years ago. He's also had a guise as a trader for a while, so just sort of trading on the Dow index. And now he's decided to go into business development to help people like me and possibly you. I recently hired Paul on a professional basis to help me overcome a bit of a weird fear, but connected with cold calling. And I've got to say it's quite a subtle but a very powerful technique that he's been using. And I think it's starting to have effects. But the proof will be in the pudding. If we're out of business in a few months, then you'll know it hasn't worked. But what I think is really interesting about Paul is how he tries to get people to talk from the customer's perspective. This is about both internal and external focus. You could be talking to a prospective client as a supplier, but equally you're trying to persuade somebody internally to buy into an initiative. And Paul's actually showed me a completely different way of looking at how you do that. And it's really been, in a professional way, quite life-changing. And the biggest thing I would take from it is that when we talk about benefits of services or benefits of whatever it is we're offering, we assume, and I think we tend to assume, you only have to look at any website or most printed literature, that the benefits that we're projecting are received in the way that we intended them to be. And I think what Paul's trying to do is to kind of say, well, that's not necessarily the case. You really, really need to say what it is that your end client, the person who's giving you the budget, actually is getting for their money. So over to you, Paul.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm going to share a very simple model of communication. And before I start, I'd just like to say that when I put this together, I did because I wanted people to get more clients, to make more money, and to help them grow their businesses. And this model, the Get Communication model, is about talking about what clients get from doing business with you, not about who you are and what you do. And it's about communicating from your customer's perspective, not yours. So when somebody asks you, what do you give them a big list of the things you do? Tell them about all your products and services, how long you've been in business, your qualifications, how many offices you have, how many staff you've got? Because if you do, I can promise you two things. One, people are wishing to hell they never asked. And two, you are definitely not getting the success and achieving what you could be achieving within your business. You see, clients really only care about what they get from doing business with you. And everything else is pretty much noise. And if you only get one thing out of this whole presentation, let it be that clients only care about what they get from doing business with you. And if you start to communicate and start talking about what they get, you'll come across as different, you'll stand out from the crowd, and you'll start to switch your clients on, not off. And the GET model is an acronym. G stands for gain. What do they gain from doing business with you? E stands for experience. What is it they actually experience from doing business with you? And T stands for transform. What's transformed by doing business with you? And GET-orientated businesses, they switch their customers on, not off. They're interesting and engaging to talk to because they're talking about what you get rather than harping on about what they do, who they are, where they are. And they stand out from the crowd and are able to position themselves within their clients' minds as partners, as helpers, as problem solvers, rather than people who are just pushy salesmen trying to ram their product down somebody else's throat. And they get more clients, make more money, and they grow their businesses. So I was at a networking event recently. I met somebody, asked them what they did. They told me they were a web designer, that they did bespoke, high-quality websites for small and medium-sized businesses. So reframing that answer from the customer's perspective, one possible way is how about I help people generate low-cost, high-quality leads, secure more customers and grow their businesses. I mean, which one would you find more engaging? Which one would make you want to find out more about what this person does? Again, somebody else I met recently at a networking event, I asked them what they did. They told me they were a personal trainer, been doing it for the last 5 years, based in London, also did physiotherapy, sports massage, etc., etc. And now just very simply switching that round to what the client gets from actually using the personal trainer, how about I help people look and feel amazing? And remember, you need to kind of craft this in a way that comes across as conversational, not cheesy. But it's just actually presenting it from the client's perspective, not yours. And again, for myself, I met somebody else who was a business coach recently, asked them what they did. They told me that they specialised in working with small and medium-sized businesses. And now, answering that from the client's perspective of what they get from actually doing business with you, I help people get clients, make money, and grow their businesses. That answer, first of all, taps into what everybody wants. I'm sure everybody here who runs their own business could relate to the fact that it would be nice to get more clients, make more money, and grow their business. So you're tapping in straight away to what people want. And the second side is you're positioning yourself in their mind as somebody who can actually help them get it. So the E in the GET model stands for experience. And this is about the mental states that people actually experience from doing business with you. Things like peace of mind, confidence, freedom, pride, satisfaction. And very few people talk about these, which means if you do start to talk about this, you're going to stand out from the crowd, you're going to come across as different, it's going to be a lot more engaging for your clients. And the T stands for transform. What's transformed from working with you? And that's centered around the business processes of your clients and also their customers' perceptions of them. And we'll go into this a little bit more. So, an example of transform. So by allowing your customers to purchase your products directly online, you transform a time-consuming telephone process into an efficient and cost-effective one. And by having me as your personal trainer, you get to totally transform the way you look and feel when you look in the mirror. And I mean, that second one there, it's going to sound a lot better than I'll come around your house and get you to do 500 press-ups. So to put this all together, you take a sheet of paper and you just write out every single thing that your customers or your clients gain from doing business with you. Just brainstorm it, no censoring whatsoever. Then write another sheet of everything they experience from doing business with you. And then write another sheet of everything that's transformed. And when you've actually got that sheet, you then have the basis of a way to communicate with your clients so that you're communicating from their world, from what they want, and from their perspective. And that's going to be a lot more powerful than ranting on about what you do and who you are. So, to answer the question very simply, what do you do? Go through your list of your gets that you've put together and select your top 3 things that you think will switch people on most about what you do. Put that together in a conversational answer to the question, what do you do? Make sure it says absolutely nothing about who you are and your company. And make sure that you can do that conversationally so that you can sort of do it in your sleep. Once you've got that, the next thing is to put together a 40-second intro. So maybe something that the way you'd answer at a networking event when someone asks you what you do, how you do that conversationally. And then make sure that it starts and ends with the top 3 gets that people get from doing business with you. Remember, people will remember the first thing they hear and they remember the last thing they hear. So make sure those things have the most sort of impact when you're actually talking to someone. Make sure you incorporate several other gets into your 40-second intro. Keep what you say about yourself and your company to an absolute minimum. And practice that until you can do it in your sleep. So you've met somebody, you've given a brief intro, they've become interested, perhaps you've exchanged business cards, decided to meet up for a coffee. At that next meeting, make sure that the whole presentation is geared towards what people get from doing business with you. Make sure it starts and ends with your top 3 gets. As I've already said, they'll remember the first thing you say, they'll remember the last thing you say. So make sure it has that punch. If the first thing you say is the main things they're going to get out of doing business with you, they're going to be a lot more interested in carrying on the conversation. And then when you finish up, you again deliver the top 3 gets. It's going to leave that resonating in their minds. Again, keep what you say about yourself and your company to an absolute minimum. You may think that it's the most fascinating thing that you've got branches all over the country, that you've been going for 15 years. But believe me, people just find it noise. And I'm sure that everyone here has probably been at a networking event or actually endured a sales pitch where someone just sat down and data dumped on them for like half an hour of who their company are, when they were established, who the partners were, when they opened this office. And you don't really remember it. All you remember is a period of your life when your eyes glazed over and you just kind of was wondering what was going on. And then perhaps they just inadvertently, without meaning to, started talking about what you get, and all of a sudden you perked up and started tuning back into the conversation again. So if you cut out a lot of that noise, you will definitely become a lot more engaging. And in a conversation, people may ask you, well, how long have you been in business? So instead of just saying we've been in business for 5 years or 10 years, link it to a get every time. So We've been in business for 10 years, which gives you the peace of mind of knowing you're dealing with a well-established company, rather than just giving a bit of data and kind of ending it there. So in summary, communicate from your customer's perspective, not yours. Focus on what your customers get from doing business with you, not on who you are and what you do. And practice this until it's your automatic way of communicating. If you really do the work to kind of get all your gets and to start communicating in that way, you'll become very sensitive to when someone's chucking loads of noise at you. So when you're in a conversation with someone and they're actually just hitting you with loads of kind of irrelevant information, you'll really pick up on it. And when you do, you'll start to then pick up on it more and more when you're doing it. And you'll start to cut more and more of it out of your conversation. And when you do, you'll really find people starting to switch on. You'll start to see how you get more clients, how you make more money, and how you grow your businesses. So I'm going to bring things to a natural conclusion and hand you over to Matt. But thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.